Hey everybody, it's Rainbow Ramblings. How you doing? I think I've discovered that Barry Morphew shot Suzanne Morphew, and that's what caused her death. The reason I say that is I was reading for the umpteenth time that original arrest affidavit, 131 pages, on page 125, in summarizing the case. It says, Barry initially blamed a mountain lion for Suzanne's death upon being notified of her bicycle recovery. In 2021, Barry blamed the turkeys for why he did not have veggie soup with Suzanne during lunch on Saturday, May 9th. The deer for why his tranquilizer gun was used to explain the needle sheath recovered in the dryer, and a chipmunk for why he was running around his house after arriving home at 2:44 p.m. And the firing of a gun of a .22 caliber to describe his violence towards Suzanne that afternoon, and the caliber of the tranquilizer darts. Shut the door. I'm going to read that again. The firing of a gun of a .22 caliber to describe his violence towards Suzanne that afternoon. It's saying Barry shot Suzanne. So I'm going over the whole case in my mind. The autopsy report tells us that when Suzanne's remains are recovered, there were her bones, her cancer port, some clothing, mostly bicycle clothing there, and a weathered bullet. It doesn't say if the bullet was a shell or, a bullet that had been shot or it was unused. Then if you remember, in the crime scene in the Morphew house, in the master bedroom, the door frame was broken, and there was an unspent .22 caliber shell next to the bed. I always found that kind of weird, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So after the crime happened, they took over the house for 10 days, and they tested for all kinds of things. And the initial report was that they didn't find any bodily fluids or DNA or anything to indicate a crime, and they didn't see any evidence of a cleanup. Well, that was kind of crazy. They did say they found something that looked like blood. It turned out that it wasn't blood, and they had ruled that out. And I do have that referenced in my notes here. So I thought, well, how odd. If they're saying that Suzanne was shot, there would have to be blood. Typically when someone is shot, there's blood spatter. And when they go through the house to check for bodily fluids, luminol would illuminate the fact that someone was shot, and some blood would be left behind even if a cleanup had occurred. So I'm thinking to myself, you can't shoot a gun without blood. Well, I went and did some research on a .22 caliber gun, and the entry wound from that gun is very small. And even though it's a low caliber and it's got a small entry wound, they can produce a fatal effect inside the body. They can actually, if it hits a liver, a spleen, a heart, a lung, whatever, a .22 caliber actually can produce a fatal wound. And I thought, well, okay. So why is there no blood? Well, there's not going to be a lot of blood at the entry wound of something that's that small. But think about it. Mallory's bedding was removed. A needle sheath was in the dryer along with her bedding, along with a pair of Barry's shorts. So there was a cleanup. There was blood. I think Barry shot Suzanne in Mallory's bedroom, and when he picked her up to move her, blood got on the sheets, blood dripped down on his shorts. There was a cleanup. The only reason why I didn't find any biological evidence of a crime being committed is because he washed it away right away, which is kind of devious. Now I want to talk about the bullet casing near the bed. At first I thought Barry was chasing Suzanne around the house. She ran into the bedroom, closed the door, and went for a gun. But Barry, being a devious bastard, he disengaged the firing pin, and when Suzanne fired the gun, it wouldn't go off, and the bullet just ejected unused next to the bed on the floor. I don't believe that anymore. I think the smashing of the door and the bullet that was laying next to the bed was part of a staging that Barry was trying to pull off while trying to make an alibi for his crimes. He tried 2 different stagings in case the one theory wasn't bought by law enforcement. One was that she was out on a bike ride and someone snatched her up and kidnapped her, knocked her off her bike. Well, they didn't believe that because the bike wasn't really damaged. It didn't look like there was any kind of impact or any kind of damage to the shrubbery and surrounding areas that would indicate that she was forced off a bike. So then Barry said, well, maybe someone broke into the house and they grabbed her and they forced her out of the house and they kidnapped her. Well, Barry left Suzanne peacefully sleeping in the bed. He didn't say that he locked the door to the bedroom when he left. No one is going to lock their wife in a bedroom while she's sleeping. So it would be ludicrous for kidnappers to come in and kick in a locked door and take her out by gunpoint, and leave an unspent bullet on the floor. So I think that bullet by the bed was staged, and of course the bullet in the gravesite was staged, along with the clothing to try to bolster his ridiculous scenario that she had been snatched on a bike ride. So basically I think this affidavit will bear out the fact where they said that Barry had done violence to Suzanne that afternoon with the use of a .22 caliber gun. I believe that's the truth. And I believe what happened is that Barry shot her. First he immobilized her with BAM, chased her around the house. Somehow they wound up in Mallory's room, and God only knows what he did to her or said to her or inflicted on her, or how he tortured her before he shot her. That I believe she was shot in Mallory's bedroom, and when he was moving the body, blood got on the sheets and on his shorts, and he laundered both of those, and when he was doing that, the needle sheath came off from the trank gun. So and even though a .22 caliber gun doesn't seem like it can inflict a fatal wound, I do want you to remember that she was severely intoxicated with BAM. So her body was paralyzed, her breathing was labored, her body was in a severely weakened condition. So you take someone who's got labored breathing and neurological distress and everything going on, shooting her with a .22 caliber could indeed kill Suzanne. So that's my theory. The arrest affidavit says that he inflicted violence on Suzanne that afternoon by a .22 caliber gun, and I believe it. I left all kinds of notes and things, so please look in the description. Peace, love, and donuts, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. This is Rainbow Ramblings, and I'd like you to subscribe, share, and comment, please. Have a blessed day.